How are we doing, guys? I'm your host, Donnie Scholzhofer, here for episode number 4 of the SCKL Slap Shot. It's great to be back. Another phenomenal episode that we have planned for you. A little bit briefer because we did have an episode. We had another big break like we've been having lately, so we don't have a ton to cover, but we do have a lot to cover. Doesn't make a lot of sense. You're going to find out soon enough. Of course, some big goings on this past week. What we had to get the last episode out for was the 2015 SCKL Draft, the regular draft, the non-keeper draft. It's not the prospect draft. It's not an expansion draft. It's the regular draft based on draft order or how you finished last season. Basically, worst team drafts first, league champion myself drafts last. And then it's a snake draft. 10 rounds because every team, of course, comes into the season with 15 keepers. That's why we had the keepers at the end of the year, did the analysis of them. And with that, every team has to fill out the remaining 10 spots on their roster. So we have a 10-round snake draft that really fills out the team. And this is what can make or break a team, honestly. Getting those late-round picks, maybe someone that has a phenomenal year ends up winning the Tarasenko Biggest Steal Award, and that could win you the league, honestly. So that's really what we're trying to accomplish in this draft. And we're going to go through it draft pick by draft pick. Maybe not every pick, but we're going to take a look. And obviously the big thing everyone wants to see is the first pick of the draft. Boozing with Bylsma did have the first inaugural pick. Finally gets a first pick in something, and he picks David Pastrnak, left wing, right wing of the Boston Bruins. And I know what you're saying. Who the fuck is David Pastrnak? And the adequate response for that is exactly. What? The first pick, I believe that the collective response would, you know what? We're going to take a look at him. Born in 96 in Haverov, Czech Republic. He's 19. He's 19 years old. He's younger than you. And you picked him. So Schultz really going out on a limb here. He was a 25th overall pick. Obviously, he's not a bad player by any stretch. He was going in the first round of the 2014 draft. Last year, he played about 46 games, I think was his total. Had 27 points, only 10 goals. Decent stats. I mean, he's all right. Is he the player that you want to take first that you think is going to carry your team? We already said you didn't have a ton of goal scorers on your team, and you picked him. We don't even know what line he's going to play on. Let's do some more analysis. David Pastrnak. Who is he? Let's check out some highlights. All right, Pastrnak, good with the puck. Moves into the zone, well with speed. Oh, good handle. He's got some reach. He looks like a bigger boy. He's got, what is he, 6'1", 6 foot? He's got a little bit of reach. He makes a play there. Very nice goal. Very good handles. He sees it, got a bit of an awareness coming into the zone. He senses the space. Does very well controlling the puck. Bad goaltending, I mean, you have to say. But a good, not a bad celly either. We'll say if you get points for celebrations, great pick. But, I mean, he looks decent. I mean, we have about a 1-minute highlight of him, so he can't be that good if that's all he's got highlight-wise. Good finish. Nice little wraparound, easy goal for Pastrnak. I mean, what more you can say about him? He's playing against the Flyers, another great, lovely, wonderful team, as you can tell that we like from the Steel City nonsense. You can see Pastrnak just kind of floating around the slot there. He's got good awareness. That's really the one thing you'll say. He just floats around the slot. I think that's been key out of every goal here. Good offensive awareness. Pastrnak, again, able to recognize the rush. He turns around, finds a loose puck, puts it in the back of net. Can we end this? I don't want to watch any more of this. Sorry you had to watch that. So many Boston highlights. It's terrible. More than anybody should be subjected to. But David Pastrnak, what more can we say? Who knows? Maybe he'll win the MVP this year. But remains to be seen. Otherwise, that's your first pick. Now, moving on, obviously you can see a lot of veterans taken in the first round following that. Marleau, Kunitz, Marchand, Kronwall, Weidman, Seabrook, who just signed that massive deal that is besides the point for this league, but I think it cripples Chicago in terms of cap room. And then you can see some goalies. Anderson went back to Bend like Backstrom. He's actually returning it, so he played for last year. Mason, who I think is going to be a big surprise candidate, did very well last year. Jake Allen, if he can win the starting job, could be a big key for a chance of Fleury's trying to retain their title. A lot of goalies went. Martin Jones, Lettinen. Huge number of goalies really went in the first couple of rounds. Teams looking to get that third starter because they want to have rotation options going forward. And another big pick I want to mention, John Klingberg, defenseman from Dallas, is a player that's been tipped to have a breakout season. And he was one that as soon as he got picked, every other GM went, oh, I wanted him. I was waiting to take him. So big pick there. You want to see if young guys like him, Galchenyuk, Trouba, if they can have breakout seasons, they'll be huge for their respective teams that took them. But moving into rounds 4 through 6, you can see we had our first ineligible pick. Obviously, I said if you take an ineligible player, you forfeit that pick. And unfortunately, Connor McDavid, being on the youth team, the prospects of Wee Dupuis and potentially their regular team this year, did have to get dropped. Wayne Train, Dan had to rely on his backup plan. He wasn't able to make the draft, so he had to rely on his, I will say his assistant GM, as in Yahoo Auto Draft. Unfortunately, he did take Connor McDavid in the 5th round, so he had to forfeit that pick. A lot more veterans going. This is really teams just adding depth. You can see guys like Phaneuf, Pominville, Stasny returned a chance of flurries. Kadri, guys trying to make a name for themselves this year. That's what you really need to see as you move later on into the draft. Guys like Dustin Brown, they're a little bit more one-dimensional. He's going to be a big hits guy. That's really when you see teams taking specialists late on to try and win them categories all the time. So that's what we were looking at in rounds 4 through 6. Finally moving on to the final 4 rounds, 7 through 10. A couple more ineligible picks. Eichel, unfortunately, was taken by Wayne Train again in the final round. He's ineligible. And Vasilevsky, the goaltender, taken by Wee Dupuis, also ineligible as he is on a youth team, so he had to be dropped. Or a prospect team, I should say. But a lot more just veteran-type players. Louis Eriksson, Camilleri, Yager, the ageless wonder, goes to booze with Bosman. Taking Yager, Pasternak, he's been boozing, I'll tell you what. Oh, my goodness. Chara, a lot of guys. They're just a bit older, looking to fill out their teams. I think a big player that you want to take a look at, the 90th overall pick, 10th pick in the 9th round, Pascal Dupuis, could have a phenomenal season, could really be a steal for a chance of flurries, honestly, because he could end up playing with Crosby. We don't know who's going to fill out that Crosby Kessel line. It's been rumored to be Kunis, but if it's Dupuis, he could come back from an injury, which left him under the radar, and have a phenomenal season for the Penguins, especially if he gets back into top gear, into top shape. Because honestly, I think he's in better shape than Kunis. Kunis has lost his hands. Dupuis still has those. If he can get his legs under him, he will be a phenomenal pickup. But that was it for the 2015 SCKL Draft. Let me know what you thought of some of the draft picks, what you thought of Pasternak. But moving on from the draft, following, what was this? 30 seconds after the draft? It was a couple days. But either way, huge trade news. We've already had a big 6-player trade between 2 of our newest clubs, Wee Dupuis and Bosenose. 2 of our newest 3 owners making a huge deal where TJ Brody, Derek Stepan, Tyler Ennis were swapped from Wee Dupuis to Bosenose. In return, he got Dupre, Cody Franson, and Roberto Luongo. Of course, Dupre was just drafted. Stepan went in the inaugural draft, but a lot of these guys were just drafted. Now they're being swapped already. An initial look at the draft, you have to wonder what JP must have thought his defensive core was very, very weak at this moment, because to bring in 2, I don't want to say average defensemen, but not a ton of points, not a ton of goals, plus minuses, shots on goals, decent for a defenseman, but not huge playmakers. And look at what he lost. He gave up a lot of points. Brody was he is a defenseman. He gave up arguably a better defenseman to get 2 in return. And then he lost Stepan. Bosenose brings in Derek Stepan. Very, very good scorer for the Rangers. And Tyler Ennis, who's one of the best players on Buffalo. Not saying a lot, but guys that are going to give him a lot of shots, a lot of points, goals, assists. We said he needed some playmakers. He's brought him in. So it's a big deal, and you have to say Yuli might have won this trade at this point. It remains to be seen once we get farther in the season what we're going to say about it. But right now, what a deal made. And it's something that's going to be a big talking point as we move on through the season. So, after all of that to cover, that's been it for me, Donnie Schulzhofer here in SCKL Slap Shot episode number 4. Big dealings. Let me know what you thought of the draft. What do you think of the trade? Good deal for one team, bad deal? What do you think? Let me know. Thanks so much for watching, guys. As always, it's been phenomenal. So much thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next episode.